formation. Darnold looking to go on second down, and here he goes out of the shotgun. He pumps, fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Jalen Naylor with his 6th touchdown this season, and Sam has thrown 33, and the Vikings have a 6-3 lead. 1st and 10 from the Green Bay 18. The Vikings are chewing on the clock here in the third quarter. Play action, and Sam throws to the right, throws to Addison, caught, touchdown! Jordan Addison with his 9th receiving touchdown this year. The Vikings have a 19-3 lead. Sam Darnold goes out of the shotgun. Cam Akers joins him to his left. Jefferson left, 3 receivers right. Akers jumps to the right, now back to the left. Darnold out of the shotgun, takes the snap, swings it to Akers, turns it up to the 10, to the 5, touchdown! Cam Akers with his 3rd touchdown this season, and Minnesota responds beautifully and opens up the lead 26-10.
Wow, wasn't that fun?
Football Feast.
You added passing charts to the Tolstoy this week.
I did.
I mean, we've done this Friday Football Feast together since 2009, and the Vikings didn't have the 1 seed in 2009. By the way, it was one eye on the adversary, the other eye on the Nolans Saints, and the Saints ended up with the 1 seed in 2017. The Vikings were really, I mean, just they came from 2-2, won a bunch of games in a row, but the 1 seed that year was problematic to find, and it's all right in front of us. Vikings fans, Lions fans, NFL fans, right in front of everybody. 720 KFAN, couple of 14-win operations meet. And the winner gets the 1 seed in the NFC. And, of course, Elite Football Minds know that means all the playoff games would go through either U.S. Bank Stadium or Ford Field. And welcome back to Buffalo Wild Wings, Egan. We've done the Friday Football Feast together for a decade and a half. And when you send these notes, this Tolstoy, I can't say that I've ever seen passing charts in it.
No.
You have passing charts in the Tolstoy. What are they?
Well, I wanted to demonstrate in the 2 Vikings losses, Paul, how the Vikings were able to be passed upon very successfully by Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford, and how they had the passing chart was very similar, especially with where they completed passes.
Looks like a heat map that I would look at turbulenceforecast.com while flying to Seattle. And like the red dots are the severe chop,
right?
The green, the moderate chop. Pilots out there driving to MSP, shout out to all of you. Hopefully that made you smile. And then like the blue would be blue skies with no chop. I mean, this is some choppy charts.
Now, where the Vikings got beat in their 2 losses, Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, on short, fast passes. In the 2 games combined, they gave up 26 completions just on passes from 5 yards and shorter.
Come on.
And, those are because the Vikings can be so effective with their blitzes and their rushes with, obviously, Van Ginkel and Grenard and everybody else. And the way those teams diffuse the pass rush was quick, snappy, fat passes. And they're short passes, but then you hope your athletes can do something special after the catch.
Yeah.
And the Lions are built for that.
They got nice
Amon-Ra
athletes.
St. Brown is pound for pound about the strongest wide receiver there is. Tim Patrick's a physical beast who can break some tackles himself. This is how they went after the Vikings. Sam Laporta, same thing, big guy, short passes. He can rumble after the catch, and so can Jahmyr Gibbs as well.
Yeah.
The other area of field where the Vikings struggled against in their 2 losses was the middle intermediate passing, Paul. This is the 10 to 15 yard passes in the middle of the field, where we saw 8 completed passes by those 2 quarterbacks, middle of the field stuff.
It's been a thing all season.
It has been a thing all season. And so those are the areas that I'd like to see the Vikings shore up here.
Yeah.
A reminder, Jared Goff in the previous game had 3 incompletions. He went 25 of 28 and Goff picked up the Vikings blitz especially well. On the 16 plays in which the Vikings blitzed, he went 14 of 16 on those plays. And Brian Flores has got to figure out, how do you answer that? We go to the blitz so often. What do the Vikings do differently here if you're not going to be able to successfully rattle Jared Goff with the blitz? If you're not going to push him into bad decisions, how do you change what has worked so well for Brian Flores?
I forgot to send you my passing chart.
Yeah, please.
It's the one that has, you sent two. So mine on the left had Justin Jefferson at the opposing 30 and Kendall Vildor at the other 40. And then the other one had Jordan Addison at the adversarial 30.
Yes.
And Kendall Vildor and Amik Robertson running into each other on atop the Lions logo.
Which is possible.
I apologize for not sending that.
Yeah, I wish you were. I would have loved to have seen the Kendall Vildor passing heat map. That would be, for me, that's erotic.
Yeah,
I would love to see that.
But it is. I mean, now Kendall Vildor, corner for the Lions. He may be inactive. All right. I mean, he might not even play. But he's been active pretty much all these games. Played 6 plays last game, 70 a couple of games ago, 70% that is, against the Bills. And again, I mean, snark aside, Vildor plays 70% of the snaps. Lions give up nearly 50 points. So, I mean, it's not all him, but that's just the situation that they're facing now. When the Vikings played the Lions week 7, that was the first week for the Lions without Aiden Hutchinson, one of the great pass rushers in the NFL. Well, subsequently after that, they've lost one of the better defensive tackles, Aleem McNeil. Yeah. They've lost him. They lost Alex Anzalone, who may return this week, but they lost him. They lost their best veteran corner in Carlton Davis.
Yep.
And Davis can be a bit handsy, but he's a very online physical corner, wants to jack you up at the line of scrimmage and try to run with you. Now, their Alabama rookie, Terrion Arnold, when he came to U.S. Bank Stadium week 7, he was having some problems. He was getting beat on double moves, and he was grabbing, and he had a lot of penalties. That tide has ebbed a little bit. Arnold is extremely gifted, not the fastest thing in the world, may not want to tackle in the run, but he's a lot better now than he was at that stage of the season. But their defense, Zadarius Smith. He wasn't even on the Detroit
roster then.
He wasn't even on the lot. He was on the Browns.
Right.
When the Lions came here week 7, they lose Hutchinson. They get a little freaked out about their pass rush. They make a trade for Zadarius Smith, and I mean, he's been okay at best.
Yeah.
They're having trouble with their pass rush without having to blitz, and that could be a big factor in this game.
I know you share my appreciation for Juwan Jennings. Did you see what Juwan Jennings did to Terrion Arnold on Monday night?
What happened?
Blocked him into the stands.
Yeah.
Which was awesome.
I told you,
love
top
that.
3 run blocking, scrappy corner. I mean, a wide receiver.
Yes.
He's unbelievable. Now, copy. This is FIPA, Fairness and Pettin Act. Mike Pettin was the one who put me on this, coach for the Vikings last year. But skeletal remains of Alan Lazard. He's one of those types of guys. Mm-hmm. Jordan Addison is not in this conversation. His blocking in the run game.
Has it gotten good?
It's gotten a lot better over about the last 4 or 5 games. It's an engagement thing. It's like, I want to catch the ball and I want to run 60 yards. And, but as the unification of the fist or the team would go, this is what's best for me to do here. And he's done it pretty well. So he's jumping up there.
All right, good. I did not know Jordan Addison is improving in the run blocking. We'll take it.
Last game was his best run blocking game in his career.
Speaking of last game, best games, offensive line's pass blocking last game, unbelievable.
Really?
Sam Darnold's time in the pocket was to me not close compared to the rest of the season.
Wow.
Darnold getting that 3 and 4 seconds, and what Darnold's improved, he's improved so many things, but his ability to make reads and stay calm in the pocket, either planting in the pocket, stepping up in the pocket, and knowing when he does and does not have to break out of the pocket, it's uncanny,
it's
Paul.
Innate.
It is.
Because he's not looking at it, he's feeling it.
He's right.
Correct.
And, most quarterbacks in a dissolving pocket, the panic sets in. Mm-hmm. He knows I just need to slide a step and then keep going through my progressions and keep making my reads. Step up a moment. keep making my reads.
Right.
And when he does break pocket, he's doing it at the right times. Sam's got a little bit of mobility to him. He's picked up key first downs in almost every game with his legs. He'll continue to do that here. But the pocket poise and this offensive line, again, coming off what I thought best overall game of the season. And that's going to be absolutely huge. You mentioned no Aiden Hutchinson, but this is still a team that can get to the quarterback.
Yep.
We got Cam Robinson played the best game of his season
Outside of the penalties.
Outside,
he had that pre-snap that they're really.
He always has that. That's got to change.
But I mean, middle of the season, like Brandell leads them in penalties. I think he has
more?
10.
Wow. Well,
yeah. There was a time middle of the season where the pre-snap stuff, the illegal formation, ball start, stuff like that. It was a buzzkill.
It was.
And it's preached a lot over there, at least not as much anymore as it was, say, a month ago, by O'Connell and the coaches, and they've pulled back on it. But Cam Robinson, he was playing his 100th game, also his 100th start. I thought that was kind of cool that you played 100 games, you've started every single one of them. Cam Robinson, outside of those penalties, you're the second person to tell me he played incredibly well.
Yeah, this was the best game of his time as a Viking. The penalties have to change, and hopefully that will continue to change. While we're talking Sam Darnold, and I know you already know this, and you hit this in your drive-bys, but
what do you mean?
First quarterback in NFL history to record 14 wins with his new team.
Yeah.
Also, 13 games this season with a passer rating over 100. That is second most in NFL history.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is the record holder with 14 games over 100 passer rating, and Sam Darnold can equal that on Sunday night, which would be a remarkable achievement for Sam Darnold, and something that I think really illustrates the level of play, Paul.
He's Paul Charchi, and I'm Paul Allen. We're at Buffalo Wild Wings Egan for the Friday football feast. In closing here, before we welcome our Lions fan in, and this is something into which we will dive with said fan, said devotee, said leader of the Lions Love Covenant. All right, 3-2 from the Packers win. There was something that was dramatically underplayed. Into this game, I think there's something that's being dramatically underplayed, and I'm glad it's not by you because I looked at the Tolstoy. Out of the Packers game, it's, there was exuberation and celebration. You sweep the Packers for the first time since 2017. You put yourself in a spot to secure that 1 seed, win the division. You know everything inside and out. After that 7-139-1 he put on the Vikings earlier this season at Lambeau, holding Jaden Reed to one catch for like 7 yards.
By that. Yes.
And minimizing his target. Props to Jaden Reed. I was a fan of his last year, when they started throwing to him and left flat, right flat, watching him make guys miss and stuff. Flores and O'Connell in this defense, they treated him like a star.
Which he is.
They're kind of like, you got that beef eater back there, not the fastest thing in the world. He's going to get us for a little bit, but he ain't going to run away from us.
Yep.
Dobbs, you and Dobbs still may hate each other. Wicks had a couple of touchdowns at Lambeau Field, but he's not a game-ruining kind of guy. The one who can ruin the game is the wide receiver, Jaden Reed.
Yep.
I didn't look closely back at the coverage, but holy, good for Jordan Love for not taking the cheese. But that one for like 7, 8, 9 yards on Reed, that changed the whole game.
Major win. I came in in the Tolstoy last week was all the Vikings' troubles against slot receivers.
Called it the Tolstoy.
The Keenan Allen had crushed this team.
Yeah.
Ray McLeod had like 9 catches.
No, your guy the previous game, who the Vikings played for the Packers. He was he's the most profitable slot machine in the NFL. Not Pearsall. I'm tripping right now. Nordo, who'd the Vikings play before the Packers?
Before the Packers?
Yeah, one game.
Wasn't it the Bears?
Thank you.
Why am I?
Keenan Allen was killed us in both of those matchups.
It might have been Keenan Allen.
Or Seahawks, rather.
Oh, thank you. Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Come on.
Thank you, Nords.
Smith and Jigba.
Yeah, he was the most profitable slot machine of all because he plays exclusively in the slot.
Right.
And into the Vikings Chickens game, he had like 996 yards.
Jaden Reed is so good, Paul. As of a couple of weeks ago, last time I looked, second in the NFL in yards after the catch on a per catch basis, behind only Deebo Samuel. Wow. And they run him. They do the jet sweeps with him. They throw to him. I was very worried Jaden Reed was going to break open the game against the Vikings.
Right.
And
that was underrated.
Obviously, the Vikings schemed to force Love to find other receivers, and it never came together.
And I'm sensing the underrated facet. Hey, little buddy.
I know. Oh, that is a cute baby. Look at
the underrated facet into this game is it's not really that underrated, but I think it's going to factor into the game. Is not only did the Lions play Monday night, not only did they play all of their significant players, quotations around significant Monday night. It was a long game.
Yeah.
It was a physical game. It was a high-scoring game. And Dan Miller, their Vox, told us yesterday they got back at 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay, so they get back from the Bay Area, Davey, at 6:30 in the morning. So recovery, recuperation, lost day, physical game. There was something in the Monday Night Football broadcast Troy Aikman dropped. And he said it repeatedly. He said it 3 times, maybe 2. But he was saying that the Lions are a tired team. The Lions are a tired team. The Lions are a tired team. He doesn't say that unless in the sneaky production meeting they have Saturday before or Sunday before a Monday, whatever, with ESPN coaches. I mean, we're talking Campbell, Johnson, Glenn, Goff, Laporta, all of them. I don't think he says that unless he's put on it. Unless, somebody in passing is like, we got, I'm just paraphrasing how it would go because I've been in these meetings. It's like, Melifonwu and Vildor and, Neiman and or Nowoski, they've played quadruple the amount of snaps we ever thought they would play this year. We have a tired team. For Aikman to double down and triple down on that, he got that steam from the inside. And that plays into this game, man. Mark my words.
Well, the only thing I'll say about the Monday night game, the short week, the travel for the Lions, because that San Francisco game didn't mean anything,
right.
I think their scouts and their coaches were game planning Minnesota leading up to the 49ers game. Because that game didn't mean anything. I think they were putting a lot of resources into Vikings 2 weeks in advance, which you don't normally have the luxury of doing, but because that game did not have consequence, I suspect they put more resources into game planning here. Now that doesn't help.
I'm surprised their 2 best defensive players in this iteration of Lions football would be
Brian Branch for sure.
Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph.
Yeah,
okay, those are the best 2. Terry and Arnold's third. He's a rookie. Branch, like 3 years. Joseph, maybe the same. But the fact that they played every single play in that game, in a game you didn't have to play those guys every single play, and Branch now plays nickel because of their injuries. He's like a Metellus type. He's mostly a nickel guy, except Metellus goes to linebacker, defensive end, and safety. That he played those 2 the entire game in the 15th game of the season where you've been injury riddled the entire season. It shocked me.
Yeah, Dan can't. If things go badly for the Lions down the stretch, that decision will be questioned for a long time because objectively, that's not the right decision. I mean, I understand the message that Dan Campbell's trying to send.
Right.
We play to win every game. I get that. But that's the old, win the battle, lose the war.
Right.
Because, you've got bigger fish to fry with a team with 21 players on injured reserve. You would think you'd want to come into Minnesota fresh, not have to sweat that short week. But that's not how Dan Campbell's wired. I think fans love that part of who Dan Campbell is. But man, strategically, tactically, objectively, I don't think there's a way to rationalize that decision, Paul.
That's Paul Charchian, and I'm Paul Allen. The Lions side of the equation from a devoted fan and an elite football mind transpires from Buffalo Wild Wings Egan around the corner as we approach the midway point of the Friday football feast on KFAN.
Oh, well.
I gotta turn this down, Bob.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, a Buffalo Wild Wings Egan. May we kindly have your attention. Welcome back to the Friday Football Feast. Those of you here at SRO Egan, those of you listening at FM 100.3 KFAN, or via the vast and ever-expanding free iHeartRadio app. Download it now. Why wouldn't you? The man between Paul Charchian and yours truly, wearing the Honolulu blue, is absolutely, well, first and foremost, he's a dear friend of mine. He's the biggest Lions fan that I know. I mean, goes to road games, lives in Minnesota. We're going to figure that part of the equation out. But, I mean, he did such a wonderful job repping the Honolulu blue at the Great Minnesota Get-Together, the State Fair, the Clomp Together for the Great NFC North debate. I couldn't think of anybody better to cogently, accurately, and excitedly discuss Detroit Lions football than my main man, Jason Hatch. Vikings fans, Lions fans, give him a round of applause for coming to Buffalo Wild Wings to share some of that elite football mind.
Thank you.
They're not booing you right now.
I know.
Look, if this were reversed with the Packers, it'd be a whole different deal.
Yeah,
we'd be booing
sure.
you right now.
For sure.
Yeah. Sinekin gets pelted with foam footballs, and in like 2012, before the win and in Buffalo Wild Wings Crystal, I mean, there was this lady, I don't know if it was like Jenny Finch in disguise. She was throwing those foam footballs 80 miles per hour.
Right.
And like one caught him in the eye. He caught a stray, and it was nasty, and he almost had to leave, and we wish he did. But nevertheless, they're treating you differently simply because you're making your Friday Football Feast microphone. Is this your debut or the second time?
No, this is, I think, the third time I've been.
Yeah, last time Apple Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So anyway, a couple of questions for me, then we'll mix it up. First and foremost, Mr. Jason Hatch, how did you become a Detroit Lions fan?
So, not the sexiest story, but my dad moved to Minnesota in like 1981. Didn't really have a team that I was brought up to cheer for. Mm-hmm. And I loved football, watched a ton of football when I was little, and fell in love with Barry Sanders. And just...
That's an acceptable reason to be a Lions fan.
Understood.
Barry Sanders or Calvin Johnson.
Understood.
Yeah, they bought me a Barry jersey, and I had the helmet, the whole deal.
Wow.
And
you were just a baby.
Just a tiny little pup, yeah. And I probably still have that jersey somewhere. But, yeah, that was the start of it. And it turned into really a borderline obsession. And
okay.
I haven't missed a game. I can't remember the last game I missed in the last 20-some years of being a fan. So.
Yeah, when the Vikings were at Ford Field last year, I'm on the sideline doing my work and walking around and stuff, and hey, there's Jason Hatch on the sideline, behind the rope, at Ford Field pregame. Brought Dalton Reisner over to say hi to him. We chatted for a little while. Second question, the best route for the Lions to win this game?
So... they're going to have to be able to run the football. They're going to have to protect Goff on the offensive side, obviously. And then going to have to manufacture pressure on Darnold in some way. I don't think they're going to get home with 4 very often, so it's going to come from blitzing. You mentioned Anzalone earlier.
Good blitzer.
Yeah, Ify Melifonwu is back, and they use him in the blitz a ton. I think they're going to have to pressure Darnold, and they're going to have to create at least one turnover in this game.
Okay, and finally, from me, then we'll all three mix it up because I understand you have some choice words for the co-host of the Friday Football Feast, who has found a way, as he has done for many years, and in very non-confrontational or purposeful fashion, but he's gotten under the skin of the Honolulu Blue fan here. We're gonna let's see how that transpires. Now let's flip it. Best route for the Minnesota Vikings to prevail in this game Sunday night?
So I guess it'd be similar. They're going to have to get pressure on Goff. I think they're going to have to get pressure with their front four. If Goff is allowed to sit back and comfortably, pick them apart like he's done the last 4 times they've played Minnesota, it's going to be a long afternoon or long evening for the Vikings. So pressure Goff. And, exploit the fact that Detroit has, 18 guys on IR on their defense?
Yeah. All right.
And,
Well, let's get to the A topic here. Before the co-host, Paul Charchian, rolled up, and we're in break, Jason Hatch, representing the Lions Love Covenant, said to me, paraphrasing, Who the hell does Paul Charchian think he is? They might as well.
Paraphrasing.
They
Yeah.
might as well not even play the game, listening to Charch, making it sound like it's so easy for the Vikings to win.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong.
I don't.
Tell me I'm wrong. You
I don't
didn't
want
say
to.
that.
I did say that
Thank
sounds like Charge doesn't think we should even play the game.
Thank you.
And I'm not going to condone sports betting, but are you setting the over/under of 0.5 punts for the Minnesota Vikings? This is what it sounds like.
Wow.
I honestly, I'll be disappointed if the Vikings punt twice. I'm okay with that. If they punt 3 times in this game,
Yeah.
I'm disappointed.
Now, the part that Jason said that I did not share with you, because I don't want to lose you at the midway point of a show on a Friday.
I might unravel.
Right, exactly. Right. Or be in the crowd like under tables and stuff. He said, Paul Charchian frustrated me so much, I'm pondering going back to snake drafts.
False.
I love it.
False.
I love it.
All right, take it
All
away,
right,
boys.
so give me a sense
Down with
from
that J hat.
the Lions fan base, how big this game is for you. It's a little bit different because your team went to the NFC Championship game and should have won it last year.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the biggest game in your lifetime.
Yep.
Happened then.
Yep.
For us, this is the biggest regular season game, I think, history of franchise.
Same.
From a Lions fan base standpoint, is the same for you?
Same, for sure, yeah. I think, and I can make the argument that it's a bigger game for Detroit than it is for Minnesota because of the injuries. Getting that first round bye. I mean, it's huge for both teams if you're going to get home field advantage, obviously. But the bye, with as banged up as Detroit is on defense,
Yeah.
they need it. Minnesota's at full strength. I mean, no injuries to speak of defensively anyway.
No, which is remarkable.
It's crazy.
Yes.
So I think it's it easily the biggest regular season game in Detroit history. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. I'm glad to know the stakes are similar here.
For sure.
You know, if you do believe, like some people do, this is the biggest regular season game in the history of the NFL, then obviously, that would apply for both of our fan bases, which I think is pretty significant here.
Charchi,
sure.
Charchi is a best or a best ever or worst ever kind of guy. I'm not, and knowing you as well as I do, I don't really think you are either.
Not really.
So he likes to push the best ever, the worst ever. So I just kind of let him go on it.
Oh, it's fine.
But FIPA, Fairness and Paul Charchian Act. I mean, he laid out a very compelling case about why this may be the most ballyhooed, significant regular season game in the history of the NFL. I couldn't argue.
I think it has the potential, and this is maybe crazy talk, but I think it could have the potential too to change some things from the NFL perspective in terms of how they do seeding.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, I think winning your division is important, but I think that I think it should just get you a chair in the dance.
Right.
And then they should reseed based on record. I think it's crazy that one of these teams is going to be the 5 seed.
Yeah, it is. It's unfair. I mean, it's fundamental.
But does this happen every year? Not
No,
to this magnitude.
like
Not to this magnitude.
No.
Well, that's why it does. That's why I ain't tripping on it. Is like generally the chips fall where the chips are supposed to fall, and if I'm on the other side of it, looking at like, okay, we understand. Let's watch it play out. And the loser of this game goes to L.A. or Tampa Bay and loses.
Yeah.
Well, that whole conversation's dead. You know what I mean?
Maybe. Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah. I guess to that point, too, speaking of how important it is, I mean, both of these teams are great on the road. So that's one silver lining, I guess you could take from it. Detroit was 8-0 this year. Minnesota's
7-1. Yeah.
So
8-0 on the road, though.
8-0 on the road.
Woo!
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
But I think it's the biggest game in regular season.
You're
history for
nervous.
both teams.
Yeah, you're nervous.
For the
Not
game?
because you're on the radio.
No, not for this. I'm nervous. I'm super
You're nervous
for
about
the
the
game.
game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'm just going to say one name, and you take it from where you go wherever you want. Cornerback Kendall Vildor. Hey!
The Kendall Vildor slander on this show has been insane. I don't
in
know
the Bills game,
what the
he
poor
played,
guy did.
He played 70% of the snaps in the Bills game. They almost gave up 50.
Yeah, well, and I think, and I was telling PA too, I think you're going to see Detroit run a lot more zone coverage defensively than they have. I mean, Aaron Glenn loves man.
Yeah.
They
have the highest man rate in the NFL.
They do. But if you, I would assume you watched the San Francisco game.
I did.
So in the second half of that game, they pivoted away from a lot of man coverage, and then they ran a lot of the inverted cover 2.
Wow.
Which had Kirby Joseph playing like a center field spot in the middle of the field.
Single high safety.
Yeah, and so linebackers go to the flats, corners go to the deep coverage spot of what would normally be a safety in cover 2. And Kirby played the middle of the field, and it led to 2 picks. I think you're going to see a lot of that from Detroit on Sunday.
Well, you know what? I mean, to slow Ricky Pearsall and Jawan Jennings on a 212-yard night with a touchdown, I mean, desperate times call for desperate measures. There's no doubt about that, Jay Hatch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm saying, you know what I'm saying? Justin and Jordan ain't those two.
No, agree. And look, I'm not saying that Detroit's going to stop.
Bro, your squad's
Minnesota.
favored. So we're doing the bet. I'm not grasping for straws. I think it's a 50-50 game.
Yeah, it is.
Squad's favored in the game. Defending NFC North champions, a quarterback who's been to the Super Bowl, a running back, an identifiable running back with no Montgomery. Gibbs is getting a lot more. That's as good as anybody in the NFL. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Laporta, Jamison Williams. Are you kidding me with this? Khalif Raymond is back. He's full practice. That's another underrated bit here, Charge. Raymond, 339-1 against the Vikings. Plus, he has 2 punt return touchdowns in his career. Raymond, he's diminutive, so maybe he gets all these yards because they can't find him. But nevertheless, he's a quality football player. He's coming back here, so we're just messing around with you, bro.
Well, I mean, that's why I'm confident in this game. You're
confident, you say?
I mean, I am. I think that, we got 4 straight, 5 of the last 6 against Minnesota.
Yeah. Seem to forget the 16 of 17 that went the wrong way before that.
That's too long ago.
It's a new bit. You're right.
It is. That's before Dan Campbell.
Dan Johnson, beloved BJ, no doubt.
I think, and Minnesota has given up 30 points or more 6 times in the last 2 years. 3 of those are to Detroit.
Yeah, how about that? Now, your defense, obviously, if I were a Lions fan, less about this game, but as I look ahead to the playoffs, can this defense hold it together in enough games, whether it's 3 games or 4 games, to go win a Super Bowl? And I just don't think you got the guys that can go like 3 straight games or 4 straight games with this defense and find ways to win. Can you score 40 points in 3 or 4 straight games,
I think it goes, and again, one of the reasons I think it's bigger for Detroit to get home field is making opposing quarterbacks come into that environment and play in it.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the reasons I like Detroit in this game is Sam Darnold hasn't seen anything like what he's going to see on Sunday night in terms of that environment. But yeah, going back to what you were saying, I wish I was more confident long term in this defense, but the Aleem McNeil and Aiden Hutchinson being out, they're not able to generate a lot of pressure. They have to manufacture it with blitzes, and that's not usually a recipe for success in the playoffs when you're playing against the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So my hope is we can just outscore everybody. We'll just make it a track meet, and you got to stop us too. So
it's not impossible. I mean, this offense is the highest scoring team in the NFL.
Right.
They can put up 40 in any game. And so, but you got to do it 3 or 4 times in a row against playoff level competition.
Exactly. And it really, to me, and the same thing with this game, it's going to come down to turnovers. If the Lions turn the ball over, I don't think they're going to win the game. If they lose the turnover battle.
Right, I knew what you meant. Yeah.
So, and it's just, it's because their defense is not, it's just too depleted. But you got to outscore us, and we score a lot.
They score a lot. Your team does score a lot. Now, you score a lot against everybody. In recent games, you haven't played great defenses.
Correct.
And, this is the best defense the Lions have faced in a while. I don't have the schedule entirely in front of me, but Green Bay, Buffalo, San Francisco, I don't think any of them, and Chicago, your last 4 opponents are quite at the level the Vikings are as a defense.
Well, I mean, if you look at, I was looking at some numbers too over the last 5 weeks. Minnesota's defense hasn't been that strong over the last 5 weeks.
Well, and you know why? It was losing that combination of Cashman and Ivan Pace.
Sure.
That's a real loss for this team, especially as a run defense. When they're together, this run defense is by virtually every metric the best in the league. And when either or both are missing, it takes this huge drop downward.
It makes sense.
Paul earlier said, and I'm interested in your opinion on this too, Show me Jahmyr Gibbs' box score, and I'll tell you who wins this game.
Fair point. Because it
100% agree.
If it comes back to a 13 for 48, 3 catches, well, he has 70 scrimmage yards every single game at least, and he's either achieved a National Football League record with that recently, or he's sitting on one. So the bar for Jahmyr Gibbs with scrimmage yards, catching and running, is 70. If he finishes, say, 15 or more below that, I mean, A, that would blow me away with all due respect to the Vikings defense, but B, that makes the Vikings an 85% winner in this game. If they throttle Gibbs the way they did Jaden Reed last game, which, I mean, Reed does, he'll run it a little bit, but he ain't Gibbs. Well, then, yeah, the Vikings are going to win the game, but I just don't know if it'll happen.
No, I agree 100%. If Gibbs doesn't, I'll say this, if Gibbs doesn't have at least 100 total yards, the Lions would be in trouble. And I'm talking total yards.
Yeah, total yards, right.
I think that the Lions absolutely have to run the ball in this game, if nothing else, to just sustain drives.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's low-key important for both teams, but the Lions need to have longer sustained drives to keep their defense off the field as much as possible.
All right, time for 2 more. This is Jason Hatch, by the way, a friend of mine who loves the Detroit Lions, reps the Honolulu Blue all over the country and all over the world, maybe. and at Jason Hatch 20 via Twitter, at Jason Hatch 20. If you'd like to follow him, as 9 to noon does. Time for 2 more. You first, Charge.
All right. When we saw Craig Reynolds come in, sub in, man, the offense just ain't the same. I mean, he's not Jahmyr Gibbs, and also he's not David Montgomery. And the stark contrast, because those two together, Sonic and Knuckles, are so devastating and so different, and they're both just terrific at what they do. When they put Craig Reynolds in, the offense just sort of loses a little. Everything just gets like a beat slower.
Yeah. Totally agree. It's almost like and I don't even know how to put it, but it's like just a break in the offense altogether.
Yeah.
When
great way to put it.
Gibbs leaves, and God bless him, Reynolds when he comes in. But
what about Sione Vaki?
I think I was going to say I think Jamar Jefferson's going to get a little bit more run. He actually don't get him confused when you're on the air. He looks a lot like Gibbs. He wears 28 instead of 26.
No,
you're a pro.
Last game,
you never get confused.
I put Andrew Van Ginkel on the Lions or Anzalone on the Vikings. I mean, I'm going so fast, rapid fire, and they got the hair. I think I called Anzalone Andrew Van Ginkel. But maybe it was wishful thinking for the Lions defense because maybe they need Andrew Van Ginkel. But anyway, we digress.
Well, they need Anzalone back. That's for sure.
Okay, now I'm going to end with this.
What do you got?
And I know you listen to 9 to noon occasionally because you texted me yesterday when I was talking in circles about the officiating.
Yeah.
But then I got confirmation from
Brad Rogers,
from the Paulie Wallies of the world and those within the covenant where I get the sneaky information. Yes, starting on Thursdays, I believe the referee and the staffs are made available to the fantasy football betting and fan base covenant. So yes, the referee this weekend is a man named Brad Rogers. Very happy he's the referee.
I bet you are.
He's an even-keeled.
He's middle of the road.
He's a middle of the road kind of guy where he's not overmatched, ridiculously bad Trey Blake. Thank heavens for both of us he's not doing the game.
Preach.
Then on the other side of it, who we had last week, Clay Martin or whatever, that was like 14 and a half penalties a game, most in the NFL of the 17 crews. So Rogers' crew, they call, I think it's 11 or 12 penalties a game on average. It's middle. It's like 6th most.
8th or something. I think it's 8th.
8th of all the crews.
Yep.
The Rogers crew leads the NFL with the most pass interference flags thrown offensively and defensively.
Wow.
They're number 1 on both sides.
Huh.
Okay, so now you're thinking Jefferson, Addison, and that bunch, and you're thinking your group, which is high end, and our bunch. Just remember that the Rogers group, now they're not all accepted, okay, but they throw the most pass interference flags of all the 17 crews.
Do you know how many pass interference penalties have gone Detroit's way?
Uh-oh, you got me boxed up on something here, I can tell.
No, I'm just...
I have no idea.
1.
Oh, well,
what? For 5 yards.
What?
all season.
Have gone their way or against them?
that have gone their way. Oh, they lead the league in pass interference called against.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because Arnold and Davis, middle
Arnold's
of the season.
grabby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like 15, 16 between them with the holds and the PIs.
Yeah.
Well-
So what I'm agreeing with you. What I'm saying is that benefits Minnesota a lot more than I think it does Detroit.
So do I.
But I think Detroit also gets guys open a little bit more. Like
You're nervous.
schemes guys open a little bit
Brad Rogers
better, and that's one of the
causing
reasons
you
they don't
flops
get
away.
that many flags. But
Yeah.
I don't love it. I don't love the. Arnold's grabby, and another reason why I think they're going to run more zone coverage than man. Because
Welcome in, the water's warm.
And there's this on this subject. Sam Darnold has drawn the 5th most defensive pass interference penalties in any season, and there's a game to go.
I know.
And you've got these inexperienced corners, the Kendall Vildors of the world out there, and
Poor
when
Kendall.
Justin Jefferson's racing by them, the
Yeah.
temptation to
We'll
grab is going to be there.
Yeah.
We'll see. I appreciate you stopping by, my brother.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank
Go
you for
Lions.
the intel. Hey, round of applause for my man, Jason Hatch. Great job. It's a lot different chatting with him than Vikings and Bears fans who can get a little nasty sometimes. Now, what'd you say? We want the one. We want the one. We want the one. You know what else we want into break? The Skull Line is here, ladies and gentlemen. A round of applause for the Skull Line. And they're going to take us into break with a little ditty. Take it away, boys.
Just going to give my score prediction.
Hey. Hey. Buffalo Wild Wings Egan on fire on KFAN. Alrighty, Buffalo Wild Wings. Egan, your announcer is out and about in the crowd right now with a microphone. Going to walk around a couple of segments today and chat with you to be on KFAN about Minnesota Vikings football. And I have a couple of questions for you. First and foremost, listen closely, and you're welcome to take the conversation wherever you want. Through the first 16, 1 to go, who is the Minnesota Vikings MVP and why? And secondly, what is it going to take to beat the Detroit Lions Sunday night? Keep those two questions in mind. And go ahead, my man. Go ahead. And I'll walk around the crowd, see what's going on. What's your name? Where are you from?
Mike from Rosemont.
Hello, Mike. Good to see you. Good to see you. Wait a second. I recognize you from a podcast I saw earlier this week featuring safety Glover Quinn. Is that you?
Yes, believe in Vikings.
We believe. Vikings MVP through 16 and why?
Sam Darnold, because it's a quarterback league, and in a conference full of quarterbacks, Sam Darnold is the best one in the NFC.
And what will it take for the Minnesota Vikings to beat the Detroit Lions and why?
Well, when Cam Robinson handles the left side and Brian O'Neill handles the right, can you tell me how the Detroit secondary is going to handle Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson?
A very fair question. I don't have the answer to that. What do I look like, Aaron Glenn?
Do you know how many sacks the Detroit Lions average in the last 6 games?
0.7.
Something like that, or 1.5. That's not enough.
Thank you very much, brother.
That's too much time for Sam.
That's too much time for Sam. Ain't no doubt about that. Hey, put your hand up and jump on the radio here. Negotiate this terrain. Hello, nice lady. What's your name?
Shirley Greenlee.
Nice to meet you, and welcome to the Friday Football Feast. This may be the first time we've seen you at one, right?
No, I took a picture with you last Friday.
Oh, that's fantastic. Just last Friday. Okay, God bless you, and good to see you.
Thank you.
Right, okay, that went spectacularly. All right, let's mix in a couple more.
Now, what did I do wrong?
Good to see you, brother.
Nice to see you too.
Vikings MVP and why?
I will go Sam Darnold, obviously, because he's been unbelievable in the pressure moments. too much time for Sam and the 2-minute warnings and stuff.
My man, good to see you, Ryan. I appreciate you. Church, you got a question for anybody in the crowd, and I'll walk around and we can service it.
Yeah, well, how about this? The Vikings have the betting leader to win Coach of the Year in Kevin O'Connell. The number 2 guy in Coach of the Year by Vegas odds is Dan Campbell.
Right.
Which coach do you feel is the coach that's going to deliver the victory?
Well, that's a
this
great
week?
question.
Who's got the better coach?
I'm gonna go back here to this part of the bar.
Yeah.
What's your first name?
Marty.
All right, so this is Marty from Motown wearing an Amon-Ra St. Brown jersey. Wow, they're starting to boo Lions fans. Remember when you didn't care about Lions fans? And because you beat them every time, and now all of a sudden it's like they're eliciting boos. Dan Campbell or Kevin O'Connell, Coach of the Year? Just what do you think about that whole thing, Marty from Motown?
PA, I'd like to know where the money sits in Vegas.
O'Connell is a prohibitive favorite. Now, that hasn't always been the case, but he passed Dan Campbell like he was tied to a post probably a couple of weeks ago, and it's not a prediction-based thing by the books. No, they move the line as the money comes in. So Kevin O'Connell, according to some, is a 10-1 favorite to win it.
Ooh. I'm going to put my money on Dan Campbell and then hope that your guy wins.
How badly do you want to bite my kneecap right now?
You're good, man. Yep.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. Time for a couple more. We'll get back out here in a little bit. My man right here, Patrick Surtain guy, showing up with we got a Vikings-Lions game for the number 1 seed in the NFC. Patrick Surtain guy rolls in with a Broncos shirt.
What are we doing here?
Go Broncos! What do you got? What's your name?
All right, my name's Trevor. I'm from Burnsville.
Give it to us.
My question to you, P, is who deserves more credit, Kevin O'Connell or Sam Darnold?
Ooh. Wow. I'm going to say, well, it's O'Connell because he runs the whole team. Okay, now if you're talking about Darnold's performance, ever since Sam Darnold arrived here and they signed him, my narrative has been, we know what O'Connell can do when he has the right quarterback and healthy receivers. We don't know what Sam can do. So the pressure was on Sam, and he came through. Do you, at least to this stage, you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, 100%.
Right on.
Kevin O'Connell has turned around Sam Darnold's career. If Sam had signed somewhere else, Jacksonville, I don't know, pick a team, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he's having this kind of season where he's in the conversation for MVP, fringe MVP guy, 14 wins, blah, blah, blah. Had he gone someplace else, I think Sam Darnold would be a middle-of-the-road quarterback. But this combination with Kevin O'Connell has been what's worked so well.
All right, we have a lot of hands in the air, waving them like you just don't care as we walk around with the wireless mic. We're going to chat with a man who used to be a sportscaster in town for Fox 9 named Hobie Artigue. He now is the sports anchor for Channel 4 in Detroit, the NBC affiliate. So we're going to catch up with him on the phone line, and then after that, we'll take a pause, come back out in the crowd, and chat with Skull Nation, Rube Nation, Vikings fans who have one thing in mind: we want the one. 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 Let's go to break. You're listening to KFAN. Thank you.